Hey, what's going on everybody? Blades over here, and today I for you guys another video of Black Clover Mobile. And inside of today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about the #1 defender here without a stinking doubt that stays absolutely meta for a hot minute, and that is our man Mars. Now, Mars is one of them units that pretty much at the beginning you're going to be able to get. He's not going to be the one that you're really going to re-roll for all the way, but holy crap, if you can get him early and immediately just continue building this man up, he will be an asset to your everyday life. So if we go ahead and take a look at our man Mars here, which should be right there, he is absolutely stunning, being able to defend so much here with a ton in his arsenal. Now, of course, he has a few things, being his LR passive, which grants all allies, including himself, of course, debuff immunity for 1 turn at the start of combat, and which really becomes a hassle to deal with for PvP / even PvE. Now, alongside with Mars being all of this, of course, he does have his skills and his card here, which ends up giving him Fortify here. Now, with this as well being at least said, he does have that lovely stack of Fortify that he's able to get, which at the beginning of each turn, or at least it resets at each turn every time he takes damage, of course. But he does have this little booster from his single attack that has an 80% chance of taunting, as well granting himself defense level 1 buff for 2 turns. Now with this card, of course, it does make him very, very dangerous, especially as a defender, but that's not the only thing he does have in his arsenal. In fact, with his taunts of his skill 1, he also has a hard stun here that once it's fully maxed, you can get at least 20% extra stun rate here. And then he has a skill that can also fortify himself as well. Now, of course, if you're not a fan of at least using the skill itself here, you do have a lot of his combined attack as well to use here, which can normally reduce attack and magic damage here, as well as taunt. But if you decide to use it with someone else other than Lotus, of course, you actually have an immediate stun here, which can get upped by 10%. This is probably going to be your most needed thing for this man Mars, and is such a valuable asset even early game. In fact, if you can get this up as fast as possible for early game PvP, all global players, you guys, if y'all have been seeing this a lot, he takes it to a whole different level. Being able to control the field here with at least his AoE stun, and then of course his single target stun, while also providing that amazing defense. Now Mars himself as well he holds this title for multiple reasons, but that's also with his duping here or his enhancements here, in which truly help him out on CC. But another thing that they also end up helping is this passive here, which reduces the damage taken that he gets from being attacked. Now it starts off at a 5% immediately here, which already makes him tanky enough. But if you go ahead and add on top of that, you get an extra damage res percent here, or extra damage res just stats here in general, while also getting 5% more of the reduced damage taken. This makes this character absolutely menacing, and if built right in just the right moments here, he can actually be the most annoying thing on earth. Now, finally getting into this man here, the main things that you really want to be focusing, especially when it comes to global, is going to be his gear and or his talents. Gear wise, he's fairly easy to build, or at least the way I end up building him, he's fairly easy to build here. And that's mainly because what you're really going to be focusing on is his actual defense stats. Now for the character, for me at least, I ended up getting his at least 2 set for the enhanced defense here, and which isn't necessary, seeing you do want to mainly just run him on pure defense. But of course, you can do this where you give him a little bit of attack like I did here, and then the rest can all be defender stats. Now, of course, he won't do as much damage, which, first of all, as a defender, he doesn't need to deal as much damage here, which is the reason that we only go for the 2 set here, as well as we only have defenders on here. But of course, if you wanted to, you could give him a 4-piece defense / 2-piece HP. It does really help him out. But I personally would say if you were going for him to make pretty much that good old wall and who will not die for ages to come, this will probably be your best way in order to have this man built. Personally, of course, you want to try and max out that defense stat as much as possible, get a little bit of damage res in there, and of course a little bit of just his HP up with stats. But of course you could use accuracy, seeing that we do want to pop off a little bit of those stuns and make sure people cannot block those as much as possible. Now remember guys, Accuracy does not help debuffs. It only makes it so they cannot block as much, in which, hey, it may feel like to you, it may do something to, trigger a little bit of those stuns, but it's morally just for extra, damage percentage in general. So having that as well as your main things is actually pretty nice. You're going to go ahead and prepare for his gear here, or what you want to go ahead and look at. For accessories, try to get as much defense on him as possible here. It's definitely going to help you out. This is the crit damage one. Unfortunately, I don't think I have any rings that would actually help him besides that point. But I think once you go ahead and get them up to a higher degree, you'll be able to get other things instead as well. But of course, you would have to check that out and just try your best to get whatever you can. I personally would say crit damage really isn't the thing that you want to get. Crit rate, if anything, if you want him to deal a little bit of damage with it, but it still works nonetheless, just getting up his stats all the way around. Now, of course, if you guys want to look at his talents here and see what you would like to build here, I personally would suggest here HP instead of speed here, mainly because you want him to be as tanky as possible. These are the two at least talents I currently use for that extra damage res. You are able to, of course, use the accuracy and pin here paired up with at least the mage's blessing, though I would not advise that too much unless you really care about accuracy that much. But those would be the two green ones that you end up running. As for his two blues, you would go with a defense here, in which actually I have a level 1 on here. Well, these two defense type little stats here, which is going to be the increased def and the endurance talent immediately. And then on the top here, you would want to go for attack and magic attack here, giving him a little bit more stats overall, as well as helping out his regular old damage. Now, what I have him at set here is at least 7% for his attack and then 5% for damage dealt. So if he does get the chance to do some damage to a person, he can deal a little bit of something to at least help him out further. But pretty much before, as I'm already telling you guys, let's go ahead and show you guys exactly what I mean. So we're just going to quickly do a single, I want to say PvP match here, just to show you guys exactly what he can get into here. And pretty much just figure out exactly what we're going to be doing. So let's see. I want to find someone that, okay, good. We found someone that does not have an actual Mars in their team as well. So you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. So when you're on global here and you're doing PvP or even PvE, you would end up running your team somewhat like this here, having at least your speedster connected with him or anyone connected with him, in which you're going to want to immediately use their chain ultimate to preferably do this, proccing off that AoE stun, as you can tell, getting at least 2 people stunned immediately. As you can tell, he takes absolutely no damage off of that, just like my William, in which pretty much seeing that he will take this no damage here whatsoever, it's also because of that fortify, meaning he is going to be reducing a lot more damage than you may think here. Now, what we need to go ahead and do is just go ahead and go through this. Of course, I don't really want to kill here because I want to show you guys exactly how much damage he does, but or at least I want to show you guys exactly how much he can tank. But if we go ahead and just do this here, he also has this in his arsenal, which helps with another stun. So as I was saying, at least earlier here, if you aren't able to, of course, stun them with this, he does have a follow-up stun here, which could most likely proc while also dealing some decent damage. Now, his fortify is slowly building here, making it even harder for him to die in general here. And that is the main thing that makes Mars so good. Mars is definitely one of those type of walls that once you have him in your team will make a whole huge difference no matter who you're facing. So let's go ahead and just end this here, saying that we ended up showing off our man's Mars and his defense as much as possible. But another thing that Mars really does come in handy for is pretty much for PvE, getting up into those gear stages. Now, Mars does have, of course, his other substitutions, which could be soul and things like that. But when you're doing like the harder gear stages or even memory hall, or not memory hall, or even the, what's it called? Let me find it real quick to make sure I'm saying it right. The Hall of Illusions here, you definitely want to have him as high as possible, seeing he does tank a lot. One of the few things that, of course, you're going to be using it for is in this red dungeon. Currently, I'm actually using this team because it's kind of quick for just clearing everything and having that heals. But you would normally be using something like this, in order to make sure he tanks absolutely everything and you safely get through. Mars himself is an absolute unit, and I would definitely say he's going to be most likely the #1 defender for a very long time, even on global. Rades does come to at least a close second here, but still doesn't hold really a candle to Mars in general. So without further ado, you guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that like button with your forehead and consider subscribing if you are new. I think we're going to be uploading every other day. If you guys haven't noticed, of course, I've been on my secondary channel, which has been absolutely amazing. Another game that I enjoy quite a lot and have always been a fan of, Tokyo Ghoul, ended up dropping, and it's been an absolute blast. But till next time, everybody, peace out.